Hi, welcome to Chapter 10, Lesson 3, where we're going to do some problem solving. So we are on page 725, and we are going to be looking at some of our word problems, looking at some patterns, and trying to figure out how we can solve our problems. Now, one good way to work through a problem is to underline what you know and then circle what you need to know. So I already have our sentence written out here. Thank you. It says, Otis made a pattern with these shapes. Which shape is missing? So he has cube, cube, rectangular prism. Cube, cube, rectangular prism. Cube, blank, rectangular prism. We need to know if we're putting...
Can I put the cube in for you?
Hold on a second. We gotta get there first. So we need to find out if we need to put in a cube or a rectangular prism there. So first we need to find out what we know and then what we need to find out. So we're going to underline what we know. So Otis made a pattern with these shapes. Does that tell us something? Do we know that now? Yeah. So we're going to underline that first sentence. Which shape is missing? Do we know that? Or is that something that we need to find out? It's something we need to find out. Normally, if it ends in a question, it's something that we need to figure out. So we're going to circle that part. And then we'll look at our pattern again and try and figure out which one needs to go into that pattern. And what really helps is when you say it out loud, and it kind of makes it a little bit easier to figure out what we need. So
erase that and put the square there.
Can you help me say it? Say cube, cube, rectangular prism. Cube, cube, rectangular prism. Cube,
Think.
rectangular prism. So does cube or rectangular prism go in this blank?
Cube.
Cube. So we're going to... Oh, okay.
And then put it, that thing.
So we're going to put that cube into our blank. Now you guys can go ahead and just circle that one there. So I'm going to draw that back up here. And you guys just need to circle that. You can also draw it into that blank space as well. Now I'm doing just our two-dimensional, what you'd see as the first face on that, just because that's a lot of line drawing that I'm not able to do to get all this through. So I'm just going to draw the square because that is one of the first faces that we're going to see. You can do the same if you want to draw in that shape. So make sure that you have that filled in for that, and we'll go over the next page together. Alright, so now we are on page 726, and we see a pattern that looks like this. So we have a cone pointing up, a cylinder, cone pointing down, cone pointing up, cylinder, cone pointing down, cone pointing up, cylinder, cone pointing down. So our problem says Sophie made a pattern with these shapes. Which shape comes next? So what we're going to do first is understand what we're looking at. We need to underline what we know and circle what we need to find out. So we know Sophie made a pattern with these shapes. We can see it here. So we're going to underline that part of our problem. And we need to find out which shape is going to come next. So we'll circle that part. So let's look at our pattern again. We have cone pointing up, cylinder, cone pointing down. Cone pointing up, cylinder, cone pointing down. Cone pointing up, cylinder, cone pointing down. What comes next? Well, we're going to continue our pattern to find out what comes next. So I will make a pattern to figure out what comes next. Cone up, cylinder, cone down. Cone up, cylinder, cone down. Cone up, cylinder, cone down. Cone up will come next. So we're going to circle that cone pointing up to tell us what's going to come next. Then we are going to do this same thing on the next page. So we'll go ahead and I want you to start working on the next page, filling out those patterns. Make sure that you're underlining the things that you already know and circling what you need to find out. And when you finish with that, come and review it with me. Ready? Pause. Alright, so we're at the top of page 727. We need to work through these patterns and find out what's coming next or what's filling in the blank. So number one, it says June made this pattern. What shape is missing? So what we know is that June made a pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that for now. And we want to know what shape is missing from our pattern. So that's what we need to figure out. So let's go through and say it out loud and we'll figure out which one is missing and we'll circle that. So a rectangular prism, cube, blank. Rectangular prism, cube, cone. Rectangular prism, cube, cone. So what is missing there? Is it rectangular prism? Rectangular prism, cube, rectangular prism, cube, cone, that doesn't sound right. What if it's another cube? Rectangular prism, cube, rectangular prism, cube, cone. That doesn't seem right either, does it? What if we try cone? Rectangular prism, cube, cone, rectangular prism, cube, cone, rectangular prism, cube, cone. That sounds right. So we're gonna go ahead and circle that shape. We're missing the cone up here. Number two, we want to know, it says these are Quinn's blocks. So we know these are Quinn's blocks. We want to circle the one that is missing and put a square around the one that's going to come next. So we have cube, cone, blank. We have cube, cone, blank. Cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube. So what's going to go in this blank here? What's missing? And we're going to circle the missing one. So what if we plug in this cube? Cube, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube. That sounds right. But what if we put in a cone? Cube, cone, 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 cube, cone, cube. That doesn't sound right. So we're going to have our cube in the missing spot. So we're going to circle that one. And then we need to find out what comes next. Cube, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone. So we're going to have our cone coming next. So you're going to draw a box around that. Now number three, it says Aiden made a line of blocks. And then we need to circle which one is missing. But this time they wrote it out instead of drawing the picture. So we have cone, cone, cube, cone, cone, cube, cone, blank, cube. So what's going to go right here? Is it going to be our cone or cube? Cube. Now both of these have our sneaky E making that long vowel sound right in the middle, so we know that this is cone and this is cube. So let's read it again and see what might be going in that blank. Cone, cone, cube, cone, cone, cube, cone, cone, cube. See, when you start saying it out loud, you already start picking up on that pattern. So if you don't look at it and catch it right away, try reading it out loud and then you're going to pick it up like that. So we're going to circle our cone. Alright, make sure that you have all of these right, and then I want you to start working on the next page on your own as well. These are a few of our word problems, so I'm going to go ahead and start reading them out loud for you, and then we'll go over it together. So number 4 says, I have one face. I have one vertex. What shape am I? So you're going to write down the name of that shape in there. It's going to be one of our 3-dimensional shapes. Number 4 says, I have one face. I have one vertex. What shape am I? Number 5 says, Latoya buys a box of tissues. The box has 8 vertices. All of the faces are rectangles. What shape is the box of tissues? So Latoya buys a box of tissues, and the box has 8 vertices. all of the faces of the box are rectangles. What shape is that going to be? In number 6, we have another pattern. So Grace made a row of shapes shown. She needs 2 more blocks to finish the pattern. So which 2 shapes does she need? And then you need to circle those. So make sure that you look at the whole pattern and try saying it out loud to see if that helps you figure out that. So Grace made the row of shapes shown. She needs 2 more blocks to finish the pattern. So what shapes is she going to need? Go ahead and circle those. When you get that all finished, come back and we'll review it together. Ready? Pause. All right, welcome back. So we are at the top of page 728, and our first one says, I have a 1 face and 1 vertice. What shape am I? So I drew the shapes up here. First we have a cube that has 6 square faces and 8 vertices. A rectangular prism that will have 6 faces. At least 4 of them will be rectangles. It might have all 6 of them rectangles. And it'll have 8 vertices. Our next one, we have our cone that has the 1 face and 1 vertice. And our cylinder that has 2 faces. So which one matches what our number 4 says? I have 1 face and 1 vertice. Well, it's not going to be our cube, is it? No, not quite. Nor is it going to be our rectangular prism. Does our cone have 1 face and 1 vertice? Yeah, it has 1 face, 1 vertex. So we're going to write cone in number 4. So make sure you have cone written in for number 4. Number 5, it says Latoya bought a box of tissues, and the box has 8 vertices, and all of the faces are rectangles. So what shape is it? So already we know that it can't be our cylinder or our cone because it has 8 vertices, and neither of these have that many. So it's either our rectangular prism or our cube. Now our cube only has square faces, but Latoya's box of tissues has 6 rectangles, not 6 squares. So that must be our rectangular prism. So we're going to write that one on the line, rectangular prism. All right, so number 5 will be rectangular prism. And number 6, it says Grace made the row of shapes shown. She needs 2 more blocks to complete her pattern. So which 2 blocks does she need? And they wrote it out. So we have cube, cone, and rectangular prism. So let's go ahead and start reading it and see what we can fill those blanks in. So we have rectangular prism, cone, cone. Rectangular prism, cone, blank, blank, cone, cone. So we need to figure out what goes in here. So let's try reading it out loud again. Maybe it'll come to us. Rectangular prism, cone, cone. Rectangular prism, cone, cone. It's going to be our cone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in there. And what came after 2 cones in our pattern before? So 2 cones, and then came our rectangular prism. So I'm going to draw that in there. And we're going to circle those 2. So it's not our cube, it's our cone and our rectangular prism that come next. Okay, when you are all finished with all of those, I want you to work through those My Homework pages on page 729 and 730. You're going to continue working through those patterns and using your problem solving and strategies to figure out what comes next and circling those answers. You'll also be reading through some word problems to figure out what those are. So when you finish up with those My Homework pages, take a picture and post that up onto Google Classroom so I can see how you're doing. Bye.